Right, everybody, today we're going to be doing the worksheet for the additional practice on multiplying rational numbers. Remember that rational numbers are numbers that we can write out. An irrational number would be a number that goes on forever when I try to write it out. Thus, it would be irrational for me to ask you to write such a number because you would spend your entire life trying to write the number out and still not finishing it after you passed away. So we're only dealing with rational numbers. That's numbers that we're able to write out that do not go on forever, and if they do, they repeat, so we can put a line over them. So let's start with what we've got over here. We got two fractions that we're going to multiply to each other. Uh, the, the rule for multiplying fractions is we multiply the top number to the top number, the bottom number to the bottom number. So this is going to be the numerator times the numerator and the denominator times the denominator. Well, we can see very easily here that 11 times 1 will be 11, and 14 times 17 will be 238. We know that a negative times a negative is a positive, so that it would be a positive 11 over 238, and that cannot be reduced. Next, we have negative 2 and 1/2 times a negative 1 2/3. First, we have to turn these fractions into improper fractions. Well, when I do that, I realize I have 2 times 2, which is 4, plus 1 is 5. So this is negative 5 over 2. My second mixed number is 3 times 1, which is 3, plus 2, which is 5. So this is negative 5 over 3. Now we're going to have to multiply the top number to the top number, which will give us negative 25, and then the bottom number to the bottom number, which will give us 6. And that is going to give us a 25 over 6. Remember, this was a negative times a negative, that gives us a positive. Now over here, you'll notice that I took the liberty of dividing this numerator by the denominator because every fraction is a division problem. And 25 divided by 6 gives us 4 with 1 left over. So that's 4 and 1/6. Our answer is positive 4 and 1/6. Next, we go to number 3. We multiply a negative times a positive to give us a negative number. And then 5 times 5 will give us 25. And then 12 times 8 will give us 96. So this is negative 25 over 96. Next, we're dealing with number 4. Number 4, we see that we have a positive times a negative. So we know our answer is going to be negative. But we also realize that we can take these two 7s here, do the butterfly technique, and get rid of them. And that's going to be a negative 2 over 9. Or we could do it the hard way. And 2 times negative 7 will give us a negative 14. And 7 times 9 will give us 63. We'll divide both of them by 7 because we're allowed to divide by 1. And we're really dividing 1 when we take 7 over 7. 14 divided by 7 is 2. 63 divided by 7 is 9. Our answer is negative 2 over 9. Now let's go to number 5. Number 5, we see that we've got decimals here. Our rule for decimals is pretty easy. We have to remember that after we've multiplied, we've got to move our decimal back over the number spaces total that we see them in both our numbers. So we're going to be moving our decimal back 1, 2, 3 places after we multiply. Well, after we have multiplied, we realize that we have negative 27 times negative 3, that's 0.27, and 0.3, which gives us 0.081. So our answer is going to be positive because a negative times a negative is a positive. So our answer is positive 0.081. For number 6, once again, we have decimals. And after we multiply them, we realize we have 5.5 times 0.021. That's going to give us 0.1155. And since we know that a negative times a positive is going to give us a negative number, we know this is going to be negative 0.1155. Next, we're on number 7. We have 2 mixed numbers. Once again, we've got to take those mixed numbers and turn them into improper fractions. Well, 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. This is really negative 9 over 2. And 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 5. So this is really negative 15 over 4. We take negative 9 and times negative 15, and we realize that we're going to get 135, because a negative times a negative is a positive. And 2 times 4 is 8. So we have 135 over 8. This is really a division problem. So this is really 135 divided by 8, which would give us 16 with 7 left over. So our answer would be positive 16 and 7/8. Next one, number 8. Number 8, we have a mixed number with a decimal. So we're going to first turn this decimal into a fraction. And if I turn it into a fraction, I realize this is 7 3/4. So now we're going to take 7 3/4 times -1 2/3. Well, when I do this, I realize that I have a mixed number. 4 times 7 is 28. 28 plus 3 is 31. So this is really 31 over 4. And 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So there's really -5 over 3. 31 times -5 is -155, and 4 times 3 is 12. And when you take 155 and divide it by 12, you get 12 with, let's see, we get 12 with 11 left over. So this is going to be, remember, positive times a negative makes a negative number, -12 with 11 over 12 left over. All right. For those of you that chose to do it as decimal, yes, you could. You could take 1 2/3 and put it as a decimal. But if you did, you're going to find out that you're going to get negative 1.6 repeating, and that would be really hard to mess with. And that's why I chose to take that 7.75 and turn it into 7 3/4. Number 9, on number 9, it's stating that Annalisa withdraws $22.50 each day from her account for a week. How can you represent the change in the account for a week? Well, this is really going to be negative 22.5. Remember, she withdrew money, so that's a negative number, times, it says each day from her account for a week. Well, there's 7 days in a week, so that's 7 times she withdrew her money. That's going to be negative 22.5 times 7, which is negative $157.50. Number 10, Kyle incorrectly says that the product of negative times -6/7 times -1/11 is a positive 6/77. What is the correct product? Well, first of all, remember that a negative times a negative gives us a positive. But now we're multiplying it to another negative. So 3 negatives is going to give us another negative. So this is really going to be negative 6/77. And why is it 6/77? 6 times 1 is 6, 7 times 11 is 77. What was Kyle's likely error? Well, to me, she forgot to multiply the negative in front of the negative 6/7, which would have gave us her a positive 6/7 multiplying to negative 1/11. So she did not multiply the negative sign in front of the negative 6/7 to the negative sign outside of the parentheses. All right, after a recycling awareness program, the number of tons of recyclable material taken to the landfill is reduced by 13 7/10 tons per month. Represent the total change in the tons of recyclable material taken to the landfill after 7 months resulting from your awareness program. Well, remember, it was 13 7/10 tons per month. If there are 7 months, that is going to be 7 and 13 7/10 times 7. Well, remember, we're reducing the landfill, right? Taken to the landfill is reduced by this. So, and it's saying that's going to be a negative 13/7/10 times 7. Well, if you take 10 times, we're turning this into an improper fraction. 10 times 13 is 130. 130 times, or plus 7 is 137. Since it's a negative number, we're going to keep it negative 137/10. Then 7 can be turned into 7/1. Now we have 2 fractions that we can multiply together. we realize that 137, negative 137 times 7 is negative 959. 959, let's see, uh, is divided by 10 times 1, which is 10. When we divide 959 by 10, we get 95.9. And since it was a negative number, it's going to be a negative 95.9. Our last one is a higher order thinking question. Place these products in order from least to greatest. Well, when I take 5 and 5 sevenths times 5 and 5 sevenths, I have a positive times a positive. That's going to give me a positive number. So first of all, 7 times 5, if I'm turning this into an improper fraction, is 35. 35 plus 5 is 40, and I have 40 over 7 in both terms here. Now 40 times 40 is 1,600, and 7 times 7 is 49. When I take 1,600 and divide it by 49, I get 32.65, yada, 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 about 32.65 basically. Next, when I take this second product of the second terms here, we realize we have 4 times 7, which is 28. 28 plus 5, that's going to give us 33 over 7. And since it's a negative number, this will be negative. 6 times 7 is 42. 42 plus 5 is 47. So it's negative 47 over 7. 33 times negative 47 is negative 1,551. 7 times 7 is 49. So we take 1,551 divided by 49, and that's going to give us about negative 31.65. And our last one, we're going to go ahead and take 7 times negative 7, and that's going to give us 49, and 49 49 plus 1 will be 50. And so this should be negative 50 over 7. And then we're going to multiply this to 4 times 5, which is going to give us a 20. Plus 4 is 24. That's a negative, so there'd be a negatives there. Now, negative times a negative is a positive, and 50 times 24 will give us 1,200. 7 times 5 will give us 35, and 1,200 divided by 35 will give us about 34.28. Now it says here, place these products in order from least to greatest. And if I follow those directions, the smallest one has to be the negative. So it will be the first one. The second one will be the next smallest number, which will be 32.65. And the last one will be the greatest number that we got here from these products, which was 34.28. And that's all the products questions that I have for you tonight. Remember to write down your answers and how you did it. Show the work and then send that to me, and I will go ahead and enter your grade. Have a great night, and see you in the next assignment.